We'd come back to Hollywood in every decade since the 70s. It's like my spirit animal, you know. And one of the places that I've always stayed is the Mark Twain Hotel on Wilcox, across from the
oh yeah, I know it.
post office. Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird, Gregory Peck. He went there when he first moved here. There was a guy in the place. He was a heroin addict, and his name was Doc. And I don't know if Amy knows him. He was interesting because he would let anybody stay at his place, you know, as long as they could sneak in, you know. Whereas me, I didn't want anyone staying with me unless I was swapping spit or something. I don't know. But he told me about Mollie. He said Mollie was getting him a Section 8. So I went and visited her when her office was across from Playboy Liquors. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, way up Wilcox.
Yeah.
So I told her my story. And she said, well, you've been traveling around the country. And my schizoaffective disorder had it, so I didn't want people to know where I was sleeping, you know. Yeah, because you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable when you're asleep. Anyway, so I left college and I started traveling. I never really stopped, you know. So she said, you're always traveling around. How I know you're going to stay put if I get you a place? And I said, well, I'm ready. It's gotten to the point where, you know, it's like a Bob Dylan song, you know, like, or Bob Seger, I guess, searching for shelter again and again against the wind, you know. Yeah, you got it old, especially on the East Coast. You know, I had this a Lithuanian lady with his 2 sons, owned a couple of hostels. And she thought there should be a token old guy in the hostel. So she would rent me my own room there for like $800 a month, which was a good deal. Yeah, especially with so much access to so many young backpacker type people, you know.
Wow.
Young, impressionable, interesting people, yeah. I remember one day I brought home a Neil Young CD, and I put it on in the dining area next to the kitchen. And pretty soon the whole damn hostel was there listening to Neil Young, you know, because he can do it, you know. Back to that. So I went to visit her, and she said, how do I know you're going to stay in one place? You're always traveling around. And she said, check in once a week with me. And I checked in twice a week. She wasn't real keen on it at first, I guess. But one time I came in, and I'd been up all night getting high. I think she could tell.
Oh, she could tell.
Yeah, pretty. She used to say to me, is it any wonder we smoke meth? And she didn't mean, you know, that was the editorial we, you know, yeah. Mollie was something else. One of the most interesting things when I first met her, you know, she said to me, as long as you don't accept federal funds, you can't commit fraud. Which is, you know, Mollie was a scrupulously honest person.
Yeah.
What she meant is no one could accuse you because you know, you can't do it. You know, it's impossible to do so. It's impossible to be accused of. Yeah. They wrested control of the Lamp Drop-In Center from her after The Soloist went viral, you know, after it became famous.
I was around.
Yeah, they took it away from her.
Was that the circumstances?
That's how she started Housing Works.
Because of the Soloist,
because they took
writer.
Because they wanted to take away. She believes in harm reduction, and they wanted to run it their way. They wanted to tell people what to do. Republicans, you know.
Oh,
yeah. Mollie's a legend. You know, when she died, the mayor and 3 ex-mayors were at her wake. You remember?
I was there. Yeah.
I know you spoke. I remember when I went there, it was pretty highfalutin. There was an area down front, though, for special people. Remember?
I do.
Yeah, and you had to show some kind of paper, and then they gave you a wristband. And when I first walked up there, a guy stood up like he was getting ready to bounce me, you know. And then when I had the paper, he was like, surprised, and gave me the wristband, you know. Mollie used to, like when we got ready to go to the housing authority, it was just her and me. And we were a little out of place, actually. And there she was with her thongs with the open toes and big old feet.
Shirt.
Big old feet. Yeah, yeah. You're looking. We were both looking extra white that day. She said to me, she goes, I'm the head of Housing Works now, but I really just like the one-on-one. That happened again when I was applying for Social Security. I'm eligible for something they call child survivor benefits, but it's impossible to prove. And Mollie said, there's no way you're going to be able to win it. And I said, I know, but I have to try. And she's like, yeah, I can dig it. So she went with me, for that. And the judge was sympathetic. He said, I'm going to turn you down, but I'm going to take some time to write the opinion. So I'll give you some hints how you can win the case. And Mollie was there. And once again, I heard other people say this, like that she always, like ministering on the north side of Philly when she was a nun, She got off on that one-on-one interaction, not the managerial part of it,
Right.
Anyway, so that's how I met Mollie. Instead of giving me a misrepresentative, she kept me to herself. And so that's why under those circumstances, I was low maintenance. So there were only a few instances when we got to interact like that, because by and large, I could take care of myself without a misrepresentative. So I needed Mollie, or when I wanted to see her, I could volunteer time. And so she had an ingenious idea. She said, some of my representatives are female and some of the customers are rough customers. So if you just go with, and I didn't have to say anything, just
be there.
Yeah, just be there off in the corner in a chair so that nobody got any ideas about messing with the hired help. The hired help. Yeah. So that was a good way of donating my time, So long story shorter, the time came for Mollie to pass the torch. And I told Celina, I thought on more than one occasion that she was the heir apparent. There were,
We all knew.
yeah, there were two or three contenders. Mollie chose wisely. Yeah, Mollie chose wisely. Celina's made it her own, but at the same time, she's respected the memory of Mollie, I think. Celina did the same thing that Mollie did. She kept me. She didn't give me a misrepresentative. She kept me as her own. And so she was there when I got my IHSS, my in-home supportive services worker. And she contributed to that. It was like the three of us, the people from IHSS, decided whether or not I would get one. And Celina and I, we took the worker to Zermano's, the restaurant right by my apartment. Celina took a personal interest. And if I had a problem, I'd just call her, until she became sick like Mollie became sick. And, well, yeah, because Mollie, we thought Mollie was going to make it. She did the chemo, and everything was looking good. And then it came back and, fuck cancer, right? Yeah. Yeah. So we didn't know what was going to happen with Celina. We just knew what happened to Mollie. That loomed large, don't you think? In the Housing Works hallways, that loomed large. And Celina was determined not to let history repeat itself. And I'm not a big religious type, I'm not a believer, but I'm glad that her tenacity, tenacious, yeah, that she was able to persevere. And so that was what's Forrest Gump. That's all I have to say about that. The last thing we did was I lived in a building that was all Section 8s, and Gower and Lexington, basically, between Lexington and Santa Monica by the Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
I got turned down for a reasonable accommodation. They're not that reasonable, Yeah.
Sure, they're not.
Yeah. But we appealed, and held the appeal. Amy was there.
Amy was.
Yeah, and of course Celina. We held it at the old office across from Playboy Liquors.
Right.
And the guy who had turned me down was the judge for the appeal. And at the end, I said, let me speak, you know. And I said, don't make me die in this room, you know. It was like a much smaller apartment. That affected him. I got a call from Celina within the hour. And she said, you won. And so then it was just a matter of, during COVID, getting out there and finding an apartment. And that's where, when Celina got cancer, that's when she started depending on Amy to be my representative, my advocate. I couldn't be happier with Celina's choice. In fact, I've lobbied on several occasions to give that girl a raise. You know? Anyway, she has, but well, sometimes she just gives her a new title.
Kind of a race.
Yeah, well, that's a sucker move. You know? You gotta, if it comes with money, then okay. You know. Yeah, that's my housing works story, and that's probably all I have to say.
It's a big story.
I appreciate you. You spoke at Mollie's wake. You spoke well. You spoke well of her, and well, you're trained, classically trained for that kind of shit. You know.
Are you happy, James?
I'm well, I'm dying, but
You're dying?
Yeah. But I'm happier than I would be without housing works. Yeah.
Wow.
So turn that damn thing off, okay? We're done.
Yeah.